So I'll talk for a bit, but the one you really want to listen to is Ryan Berlin, who's up after me. We deal a lot with financial institutions back east. We deal a lot with banks, and it's fine for me to have a cultural opinion on the market, but unbeknownst to most people, Ryan and Andy and a team that used to be called Urban Futures, who have come in-house, have done our data for the last over 20 years. And there's a Robert Moynihan has a saying that we're all entitled to our own opinion, but none of us are entitled to our own facts. So once we have the data, it's very easy to have an opinion. So I'll just sort of go through why we stay in business and why you think we're all going to be okay in this room. I'm coming up to my 45th year in this business. I refuse to leave. I love the business, and we have an amazing roster of developers, and we like the real estate industry. I was a house salesman. I come from the same background that a lot of you are in right now. But we had our staff meeting this morning, and I said to them, one of the company sayings is anybody can get in the game, but very few people will stay in the game. We all know people that have had a great idea. We all know people that thought for a moment they'd do something, but most of our ideas aren't sustainable because we get bored and we want to change direction. And we decided this was going to be a long-term business. I have responsibility to 92 staff. They have babies, they have mortgages, and we have to be very prudent with how we make decisions when we continue to hire. But we've been through 1981, most of you were born then, through 1981 when interest rates hit 21%. Everybody said, Bob, get out, it's over. They brought in GST, everybody said, Bob, get out, it's over. We went through the tech meltdown of 1999, everyone said, get out, it's over. And then we had to make a huge decision, all of us in this room that were in business then, in 07, 8, and 9, with the meltdown in America, and it was over. We should get out. We, as a company, we were doing the Olympic Village, and we decided that we would stay on to manage that asset for the city, and for Ernst & Young that went into receivership, because anybody can get through the good times. We all know how to cash a check, but very few of us understand that we have to stay through the bad times, and that's right now where all of our clients really recognize your efforts last year. My cheap opinion on the market is $1,000 a foot and less is recovering as we stand here talking, which is this project and moving out as we go east. Over $2,500 a foot for condominiums downtown is probably 24 to 36 months away. The problem that we have is nobody wants to sell their $3, $4, $5, $7 million home 4 years from now and buying a pre-sale because they're not sure where values will be. There's skepticism. They haven't lost confidence, but there's a bit of skepticism. So they're happy to buy an assignment at Vancouver House, despite all the stories you hear. They're happy to buy something 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. They want to trade in the same market. That will slowly go away over the next 24 months. And what's really got my confidence is if you watch jobs. And Ryan will go into this a lot more. But if you just look at the post office at Amazon, there's going to be 11,000 jobs at the post office. Tech brings tech. A very dear friend of mine was the first president of Microsoft, and he sat on the board for 25 years. And I was going down to Seattle to have dinner with him, and I took the float plane, which lands in Lake Union. And I told him I took the float plane, and he said, "Oh, we put that in. We cannot get employees into America anymore because of Mr. Trump, so we're just housing them in Vancouver." But they're not only housing them now. You'll see Microsoft go into West Bank's new building at Hamilton in Georgia. You see what's happening with the post office. You see that American money has bought Bentall Center, and they're going to turn it upside down into an energy center. We can't see the forest for the trees, but they believe in here. And with this immigration and the jobs that are coming, and Ryan's numbers, if under our Liberal government, under Trudeau, there's 350,000 people a year coming into Canada. If we didn't have those 350,000 people a year coming into Canada, by 2028 we'd be at zero population growth based on low fertility and high mortality rates. With 350,000 a year, we're at zero population growth in 2036.
Yeah.
In 2036, So who's going to pay our income tax? Who's going to bring me a bedpan? And who's going to be my lawyer 16 years from now? We're going to have to move immigration up into 500,000 a year. And then you take that with the toxic problem of nobody wants to take the political risk of approving density. And that's why we all have a job. You can't build another single family home in most areas in Greater Vancouver unless you tear a home down. We don't have the land. And you can't get permits to build these buildings. It takes longer to get a permit and entitlement in the city of Vancouver than it does to build a building, because no mayor and council wants to take the political risk of a lot of density. Mike Hurley in Burnaby is one of the few, and Doug McCallum in Surrey is one of the few, but Surrey is just introducing CAC, so they're going to charge for density. It's the tip of the wedge. They don't have to raise taxes. And Burnaby's really pro-rental more than they are pro-condominium product. So we've got this immigration that we have to have. We've got the jobs that are unbelievable, and we have mayors and councils that don't want to create density. So we're self-leveling. So as we come out of this, we can have absorption or we can have price. So instead of being priced here at $1,400 a square foot, we have to hover down around $1,000 a square foot so that we get your attention. And so that's how we get through these markets. But when you marry the true immigration and the true need for immigration that's been politicized, but the Bank of Canada is going to insist that we all start to act responsible with immigration. And as we see what our NDP government has done, it's really easy from the cheap seats to just poke holes at them, but we have to work together with them, and we have to have real ideas. They're trying to tax it, it's like tobacco, that they think they'll tax us into not having need to own housing. But there's real demand and real need when you see jobs in immigration. So yes, there's been speculation, but a lot of people don't want to sell because they have to pay income tax on their profit, and it's very easy to rent out today. We're very sensitive to wanting product on transit. So that's what you see here with Highline, is we're on transit. And I think for increases in value and ability to rent, and you watch the pressure that's going to come on rental stock, because rental stock is not being increased at the rate we're seeing jobs and immigration come in. So that will make it easier on our investors as we see rates start to move up. Our job is to not hype it anymore. Our job is to take all the data that these guys put together and how can we be sustainable. Doing this for 45 years, it's really easy to step out and go, it's been a great run, I think it's time to stop. But I just see such a market ahead of us and such a chance for us to use ingenuity, use a chance to work with developers to make sure that they're building the right product. Even here, the bottom 18 floors, we've gone back and forth, do we do it as hotel or do we do it as office? The vote will be what will be the least inconvenience to the top of the building and make sense for the developer so that he can keep prices where they're at. The reason we're only marketing to the 38th floor is we don't think the market's there for the top of it right now. So let's market the part that we know you guys can sell, and then we'll go into the other part of it later. And the other thing that I'm a broken record on is looking at aging baby boomers in Greater Vancouver. If you're 55 years of age and older, how much are we sitting on?
350 until?
No, 55 older.
Oh, 55, so half of that?
Yeah, well, it's 193.
You keep see you later.
Rain Man. No, you don't even know what that is. But if you're 55 years of age and older, you're sitting on $193 billion in clear title housing in Greater Vancouver. And that $193 billion in value, approximately 73 billion of it is held by over 75-year-olds. So yes, they would have liked to have gotten 12% more for their home, but this is the new market. So if the aging baby boomers selling their home, I'll use on the west side of Vancouver, and they thought they were going to get 4.2 million and they have to sell at 3.5 million, instead of buying 1,500 square feet in their neighborhood, they'll buy 1,200 square feet, or they'll go a little bit east and buy the 1,500 square feet. Instead of giving their children each $300,000 to buy a condo in Burnaby, they'll give their kids each $225,000 to buy a condo in Port Coquitlam, or Surrey. Because that aging baby boomer money is realizing how expensive life is. They can't keep up with their golf memberships, they can't keep up with their medical, they can't keep up with their children's needs, they can't keep up with inflation. And so they are going to sell, and they'll hit the market bid. You see it happening now. You see, whilst houses are being listed at the right price, you all have multiple offers again. And yet we still see the media pushing out negatives on the marketplace. And the racism that's in the market is something I just think as an industry that we should all help overcome. Yes, there's been speculation, yes, there's been money laundering, but a lot of that money laundering is at an end of the market that very few of us deal with, is in that over $10, $12 million end. We're selling condos where people might buy 2 or 3 hoping they can sell one, and they rent out the others. And I think you're all seeing that you're dealing with a lot of these aging baby boomers and their families, where Greg Zayati's term always is their family decisions. They're buying something that mom and dad may live in, the kids might be able to live in it, they might be able to sell it, they might be able to rent it, grandma will live in it, but they'd rather take the money out of the bank and get it somewhere where the tenant helps to pay off the mortgage and build equity. And so I think we're really back to basics in the market, but none of us should be hyping it, but we should all be looking for those fundamentals of jobs and immigration, why it works. Because I find that when you're in asking someone to sell their home, you can't be telling them lower the price, it's going to hell in a handbasket, and then get them in the car and say you better buy now because it's going up. If you get it down to fundamentals and we really understand the pressures that are coming on this market, it's very easy to get people to do business. And I think as professionals, we need a business philosophy. So rather than me just keep talking, does anybody have any questions? Please.
Yeah, so there's lots of jobs coming, and we know that, but relative wages still need to keep pace with the market values of the properties.
Sure.
So how do you speak to that? Otherwise, we're going to be left with an investor-heavy market base.
So the question, if we didn't hear it, is yes, jobs are coming, but are the wages there? So I think that we're in a renaissance when we see the 11,000 jobs coming at Amazon. The numbers being tossed around, and those jobs are $120,000 to $140,000 a year. One of the reasons we've had a tech business here is they've been paying people $55,000 to $70,000 a year. When we see real jobs coming and an Amazon coming, they're going to take the good employees from these underpaid tech startups that we see here, and those tech startups here are either going to have to get in the pool and pay real wages, or they're going to have to go somewhere else. But there is pressure on wages coming, because the Amazons with the 120 to 140 a year are going to have a whole reset in this market. And then that discretionary money out there is going to be the pressure on rental to begin with. Because if you move here from somewhere else, you have a 20% foreign buyer's tax. And in Seattle, if you work at Amazon, your life expectancy of an Amazon employee is 24 months. The day you start at Amazon, you apply to Google, because you're always working to build up your resume. I think as we see people move to Vancouver, for the same reason, we have all these different cultures in this room. People will want to take roots here because of family, because of weather, because of lack of fires like Australia, because of our political climate, although we're disgruntled with it, is very calm compared to most places in the world. So people will want to live here. So after the 24 months, they will get some sort of immigration. And I do think that we'll see the NDP relax on workers and the 20% foreign buyers tax. So I see pressure on wages. With minimum wage going up, I don't like what I see is Starbucks are closing 25 Starbucks locations. So what they're saying is there's too much pressure on wages, so let's just have less rent to pay. So it's a fine balance as we go through this, but Amazon is a renaissance.
I have a question.
Please.
And allow me to cable on that the BC condos owners brace sticker shock of insurance. What about insurance 50% to 300%? And this is a building 1 year old in Langley, just recently was targeted, just of 2 claims within 1 year. And now insurance companies, I'm dealing with this with a lot of strata right now, that they're hiking the insurance renewals.
So the question is, how are we dealing with the extreme hikes in condo insurance? And then that reflects on investors who buy and have tenants in condos. And I can only go by my experience following Woodward's. And Woodward's right now, the strata can only get insurance if they have $250,000 deductible. So for some of my clients that own a number of condos, what they're seeing with their tenants and with their condos is they're absorbing the first 20,000, so they're uninsured for up to 20,000. So they're covering those ones themselves. But what we see with water damage, or dishwashers and washers and dryers and abuse and tubs overrunning, is when you have an overflow, when it goes, it affects everything below, and it's hundreds and hundreds of thousands. So the insurance companies don't want to take the risks now, and they don't want to take the risks where there's a lot of tenants involved. So this is a whole new problem that is just coming up. And the president, I'm told, it's the second hand, the president of the Strata Council at Woodward's just renewed their insurance, and it was $1,500. Previously, I think it was $450.
Yeah, this is quite a big
So you're giving up now a month's rent
Yes.
for insurance, and you can't raise the rent
That's
because of our laws. So this is something, it's toxic,
Yes.
where the transition has to be
Do you
brought
think
up.
a developer will come up with a solution to have enough funds for insurance to cover that in the future? Do you see that happening?
No, it's like preloading a contingency fund. They can cover the first year, but reality is going to set in. This is an insurance company, it's a grab, and it's like earthquake insurance. If you cover one house in the neighborhood, how many do you want to cover in the neighborhood, because it affects all of them. And I don't know the answer.
Well, actually, just a
Great.
quick note, yeah. So I think some of the other things that we're seeing, and interestingly enough, I was actually at lunch yesterday with Tom Reeves, who's the president of what's now known as Westmount, but was actually Aviva before. And he said one of the things they're finding because of this is there's a lot of East Coast companies now coming into the market. They see opportunity with these raising rates to come in and undercut. So there's lots of actual money flowing for that purpose that you're going to see a little bit more of a competitive market where it should help that. The other thing that a lot of the developers are doing in new buildings and that we're finding in new buildings is the overall efficiency. And just Ryan and I were just trying to figure out, what percentage of a total strata budget are the insurance fees, and the other aspects of it are coming down due to technology, due to property management. We do a lot of work with a company called Tribe, who's probably now the largest property management company in BC, and they're basically a software and tech platform. And what they're able to do right now is they're finding ways through better negotiation, through better management to drive down all the costs. So though I think a lot of the insurance costs and even aspects of energy costs are going up, there's a lot of things to do with technology and overall competition that'll help moderate it. It's not necessarily going to solve it, but it'll definitely keep it moderated. So it's something that the industry's seeing as a problem, but at the same time an opportunity to be a little bit more creative. And developers are paying attention to it from that front.